How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. So I did not realize, well, my name's Ariana, by the way. I did not realize that you were from Michigan at all until I got back from Comic-Con and I was like looking through my business cards and I saw that you had a 248 number.
Yeah.
Yes, I grew up in Southfield.
Oh, right down the street.
Yes, yes, yes. So how did you get into illustration?
The so I've kind of always done it. I think that most people who draw, they can't really remember a time when they didn't draw.
Mhm.
And I think that most kids start off as artists, they start off drawing and then at some point they kind of turn their back on it. They start comparing themselves to other people who draw or they just find interests that they like. That didn't happen to me. I just turned into a bigger, hairier version of that same kid
Mhm.
that always drew. And that's how I mean, I don't know what else to do.
Um, what was kind of the first character that you remember drawing and repeatedly drawing?
Let me think. I drew a certain frog a lot when I was a kid. I drew bears when I was a kid. I drew a lot of monsters. I was born on Halloween. And so like Halloween has always been and like monsters have always been something that I kind of gravitated to. So which sort of explains the book Franny K. Stein a little bit because I like monster stuff and scary stuff.
Yeah, that is definitely on brand for someone who is born on Halloween. Um, One of your latest projects is Fan Club Batman Squad.
That's right.
What was it like partnering with a different IP? Because you have a lot of IPs. What was it like combining with another one? Because I also know that you're a huge fan of Batman.
I am a huge fan of Batman. So DC asked me to if I could write a book for them, you know, it was funny, sort of middle grade, just because they knew what I had done in that area and they liked it. And so I happened to run into them at an ALA out east, and they said, "Can you think of something?" And I said, I can think of something right now." And I pitched them on the idea of a boy who was crazy about Batman and like wanted to share what he knew about Batman with other kids. Sort of, I think originally I started calling it Batman College. And so we went back and forth because DC has to be very, very protective of the
Hmm.
brand, Batman. And I had to keep sort of pointing out my character isn't Batman doesn't exist and he's in Batman and this kid do not occupy the same universe. This kid is like a regular real kid who is just obsessed with the character of Batman. So it took us a while to negotiate the deal, but I did it. And because I'm adjacent to it, I don't have to be right. Like I don't have to follow necessarily Batman canon, right?
Hmm.
My narrator could be flawed. He could be wrong about something. But I've read a ton of Batman since I was a little boy, and I'm not wrong about any of it. So
Who is your favorite person that has played Batman?
Adam West, I met years and years ago. I created a TV series for Fox Kids,
Mhm.
and I got to cast Adam West. I got to help cast Adam West for one of the main characters in it. And that was because I grew up watching Batman on TV. Batman was on 2 nights a week back then. This is when there was like 3 channels. Batman took had 2 shows a week, same bad time, same bad channel. So that was the Batman that I liked the best. But as years have gone by, like I've always, like I haven't rejected anybody who's played Batman. I think that they're all just, playing different sides of a character.
Mhm.
So I'm always curious about how somebody's going to portray Batman.
Yes, it's funny. Like when I think of Batman, I feel like I often think George Clooney,
Hmm?
but my favorite Batman, weirdly enough, is Lego Batman. Um, I thought that was just done very well. It's really my favorite Batman movie and the favorite kind of version that they've done, but I'm sure it was super exciting for you as a fan to be able to be a part of this, but not have to follow kind of the typical rules or standards of the canon because your character is also a fan of Batman.
Yeah, it was great. My character kind of is me when I was little, you know, like, and my Batman is not particularly he's not particularly the Dark Knight. He's not like awash in the psychology of revenge so much. My Batman is more about justice and always doing the right thing and defending the innocent. And so that's kind of where my Batman comes out.
Yes. Speaking of inspirations, you have so many different characters. Where do you get inspiration from in your day-to-day life to kind of create these characters?
Um, I just sit down and draw. Like a big part of it is, I think that people who are creative, they always kind of have the voices inside their head screaming all the time anyway. And so you just sort of sit down and open the door enough for something to come through and start sketching it and doodling it. And often they're bad. Often the ideas are bad, but you have to let them through so that the good one can get past them. And sometimes the bad ideas turn out to be good, or you can have something. I wrote a book called Comet the Unstoppable Reindeer, and it hung around for, I don't know, 30 years on a piece of notebook paper before I picked it up again and I said, I think this is still funny. And then I wrote it and I sold it as a book. It's a holiday book. So sometimes the ideas can just linger around for a very long time before you do anything with them.
Yes. Um, so you've been illustrating for a while, and obviously different mediums have come in. Like a lot of people do digital art, they're on the iPad and stuff. How do you traditionally do art? Do you still sketch by pencil? Like, what's your favorite medium?
I usually, my favorite way to work is traditional tools.
Mhm.
Like I really like to watch the ink come out of the pen or the lead come off of the pencil lead. I like the sound of it. I like the tactile feel of it. I like how watercolor looks when it goes down on the paper and it's not quite right. Like
Mhm.
sometimes it puddles or it doesn't meet a line. But that said, often like the uh, for timing, um, I work a combination. Like I might do the line work traditional with pen and ink or pencil or something, scan that in and start doing the color in Photoshop. So sometimes it's a mixture of stuff. And the increasingly the iPad. I had a shoulder surgery earlier this year, and I have a habit of when I draw, I lean on my left shoulder like
Mhm.
this, and so I couldn't really do that.
Oh,
So I started using the iPad a little bit more and discovered you can, with the program Procreate, you can create stuff that's terrific. I mean, it really, really looks like, it really looks and feels like traditional tools. And there's a couple of screen protectors you can get that feel more like paper. So,
oh.
like, I didn't really like that plastic on glass, so slippy, slidey.
Mhm.
But there are screen protectors you can get now that goes down on top of the iPad and it creates this friction, so it feels more like a pencil and paper.
That's interesting how you're embracing different mediums, but also enjoying what you traditionally and what you grew up on. How do you feel about AI? That's kind of becoming more of a thing.
So it's super fascinating. I mean, it's so amazing to see, you know, the things it comes up with sometimes, even when it gets the fingers all screwed up or whatever.
Mhm.
It's amazing to me. But I know that recently in a copyright case, a judge found that it was not copyrightable. AI was
Mm.
not copyrightable. And the Copyright Office is actually sort of deciding what their position is on this based on the fact that there is no human creation. And one of the tent poles of if something is or is not copyrightable. So I think that probably because it goes out and it sucks down a bunch of stuff from a bunch of other people's work, that it is not, I think it probably is not copyrightable. And for that reason, it's going to make it less attractive to big corporations, entertainment, music, and illustration, if the work can't be protected.
Mhm.
So I think it's fascinating. It's really good at surreal stuff. Like like doing like make this look like a Dolly painting. It excels at that. It is really great at that. But some of the stuff, if it's like if it's going to be really silly or stylized, it has to lean very heavily on human creators.
Mhm.
You know, that's a difficult thing to it's a difficult thing for it to do. So I'm not really against it really as a toy, but I don't think that I don't think it's really the future of artistic expression.
True, true. I became familiar with you through Happy Bunny. How did you come up with that character?
Look how I have piles of the books here to that's actually in a big relaunch right now too. It's already at Hot Topic and it's available online at fine stores near you. Well, the way that I came up with that, if you saw my studio, and I've said this a million times to people, but it looks like somebody broke in, thought about robbing it, and then left without taking anything. So it's always sort of like a lot of chaos. And there's stuff hanging up on bulletin boards all the time. It's Happy Bunny came from a little sketch I had done of a bunny, and it just said like you suck, and he was like really happy. And I had it pinned up on a bulletin board for years, and I would walk past it and I would sort of think it was funny. And then I started thinking, well, if I think this is funny, maybe other people will think this is funny. So I started to draw it up. The At the time I was very interested in what was happening in Japanese art. This is like 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And so that's why the trademark name is kind of clumsy. The trademark name is It's Happy Bunny. It's kind of like, it's been translated or somebody trying to speak English. And I showed it at the licensing show in New York, which is a show where people go, and I had done a lot of licensed stuff before It's Happy Bunny, where people show properties. And I tried to get people, it took me 3 years to get anybody to like take a chance on it because they kept going, well, Jim, I think it's funny, but I don't think my customers will understand it.
Mhm.
You go, well, what makes you think you're so much smarter than your customers? Like
Mhm.
you get it, they'll get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so finally, some companies took a chance on it. Hot Topic retailed some of the stickers, and they did great.
Mhm.
And then once you start selling product and licensing, it just kind of snowballs. After a while, you don't really even have to seek out licensees. They start coming to you
Mhm.
because they see it in the stores that they shop. There's stores like I said, it's Hot Topic. It's considered a bellwether store. Other retailers and buyers shop that store. So it just kind of keeps developing and developing until it gets big. And then after a while, these things contract. They kind of run their course. And I was completely content to let it run its course, like just ride off into the sunset. And then a company, operation in New York called Rogue. It's a retail store, and they do a lot of thrift stuff and a lot of throwback stuff. They called and said, "Can we do a pop up on It's Happy Bunny?" This was like two summers ago, I guess. And I said, "Yeah, sure. You don't even have to make anything. I've got archives full of stuff because people send me samples."
Mhm.
So she set it up and announced it, and it was like hundreds of people showed up. They were lined up outside the place to get it. And so I said, "Okay, this is a sign. Let's relaunch it." So
Yeah.
we're relaunching it, and it's doing well. And I guess a lot of people still feel like that, mean little bunny.
Why do you think it's having this resurgence?
I
Have
think,
people just kind of always connected to it?
yeah, I think some of it is nostalgia. People sort of like they like it, so maybe they're going to get it for their kids now or something like that.
Mhm.
I think part of it is because the voice of It's Happy Bunny, can be a little controversial. Like he can be really, really belligerent. And I think that a lot of comedy, for a lot of reasons, people have gotten a little bit careful about because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And sometimes that can go so far that they kind of scrub all the edge off of their joke. It sort of,
Mhm.
it kind of weakens the joke a little bit. But It's Happy Bunny is sort of unashamedly a prick. And I think that I think people spark on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, even speaking of that, like Happy Bunny is a prick and he is an a-hole, but he's not like an is. Like he's never been like sexist or racist or
No,
homophobic. He is an equal opportunity hater of just humankind.
yeah,
So
right. Yeah, he doesn't hate people, he hates behavior.
yeah.
So he hates stupid people, but none in particular.
Hmm.
So I think that's part of it. And people have asked me lots of times, why is he happy? And I think he's happy because he knows the truth.
Yes.
I think that's what makes him happy.
Yeah. Does the idea of something eventually being licensed or created into a movie, a TV show, all of those things that have happened in your career so far, does that affect the creative process? Is that something you keep in mind, or do the opportunities just come and it works if it works?
It works if it works. There's some things. I mean, sometimes you start thinking, like, "Whoa, this would be a great movie," or "This would be a great." Like Franny is an example. We talked about Franny before.
Hmm.
I get this huge pile of books here on my desk. Um, and that's one of these things that's been a really good book. And people over the years have asked to do it as a TV show or a movie, and we've never found a good fit. A very big operation pitched me on the idea of Franny being in high school and she doesn't fit in, and she's jealous of the pretty girl and stuff like that. And I said, if you think that Franny is jealous of the pretty girl, you don't understand the character. Franny is jealous of Edison. Franny is jealous of Tesla, and Madame Curie. Franny does not care about the pretty girl. So,
Hmm.
some of these things, they just haven't gone anywhere because people, the brand and the production company or the studio, it's not a good match. So sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So I mean, and things sometimes, not everything has to be a TV show
Hmm.
or a movie. Most movies are bad. I mean, when you really analyze it, like when you find a movie that's really good, you tell all your friends.
Hmm. Speaking of kind of high school, and a lot of your stuff, as you were saying, is kind of middle age. I think a reason for that, and you can kind of give your point of view as well, is I feel like high school is automatically, oh, you're jealous of the pretty girls, the stereotypes. Oh, you're jealous of the pretty girls, or it's a love interest thing. But I feel like middle school has a bit more room to be complicated, and you're still at the age, which is beautiful, that you can still kind of dream in this way and still have like childlike interest, but you're still kind of dealing with the complicated feelings of puberty. Do you think that's why the middle age you can be a bit more honestly creative?
I think so. I think that by the time, like for It's Happy Bunny, the Drug Free America came to me and asked me to do a promotion for it. And so I did. And I said, but one of the things that I want to make clear is that I'm going to do this for middle school.
Hmm.
This isn't for high school students, because by the time you get in high school, I mean, to a large degree, a lot of your concerns are quite adult.
Hmm.
The feelings you're having, and you start thinking about your future and things like that. And I think it's tough to write for somebody in high school, because really your best bet is to write for an adult
Hmm.
and hope that they find the book and like it. I mean, in high school, you were probably reading, like books like The Exorcist, or so. I mean, I mean, you're reading adult material in high school, and so I think that if kids find your books in high school, it's just because they found them.
Hmm.
High school kids in many ways are adults.
Yeah, which was good and bad for sure.
Mhm, mhm.
When writing Dear Dumb Diary, you were able to write the movie for that. What was that process like? Because you're usually an illustrator, but now you're writing a screenplay. What was that like?
Well, I wrote all the books, so and I write all my books. So that was another one of these ones where people had taken a run at it a few times,
Mhm.
and wanted to develop it, and for one reason or another, I didn't think we were good fits. But then I got a call from my manager, Jerry Zucker, wants to. And Jerry Zucker is the one who did the movie Airplane and Ghost and all these other really terrific movies. And I was a huge fan of Airplane.
Mhm.
And I said, great, Jerry, I'll talk to Jerry and Janet, because Janet was actually the producer on the movie, but I didn't know Janet. I knew Jerry. So we had a meeting about it. I loved everything that they pitched. They said, and we'd like to make it a musical. And okay. And then they had an idea for Kristen Hange to co-write with me and also direct the movie. And she did Rock of Ages on Broadway. And she's great with kids, great with music. So she and I wrote it together based on the books, and it was a good match. And then I participated in everything after that. The casting, and I went out there on set, and the actresses were terrific who played the parts, and I was really happy with it. We couldn't really land it. Like we almost got it on Nickelodeon, and then I got the note back that it was too pink. and I said, I'm not sure I know what that means. And I said, well, all your protagonists are girls. So I go, yeah, you're aware that about half the world is also female, right? I mean, that should be okay. So, but it wasn't. They wanted a movie at the time that would appeal equally to the boys and girls who were watching it, which this movie would. I mean, it
Yeah.
was really. And I never like one of my favorite characters when I was a little boy was like I really liked Pippi Longstocking, and it never occurred to me like, well, maybe I shouldn't like this because Pippi's a girl. Like I never in a million years I wouldn't have thought that way. But
That's gross, man. Whatever. Like that doesn't make any sense, but okay.
and also a decision like that, also in their defense, a decision like that can be made by one person who
Mhm.
3 weeks later doesn't even work there anymore. But you typically only get one bite at the apple, and so those decisions change and change again. If we pitched it today, things might be very different.
Yeah. You seem to have a very much go with the flow. What comes to me is for me. What doesn't wasn't for me. Do you think that's semi influenced by like the fact that you grew up in Michigan and you're still in Michigan? That you're kind of separated from it? Of like
Like
the Hollywood of it all or the New York grittiness?
I think that I'm in Michigan, but I'm just outside Detroit, so we have our own kind of grit here.
Mhm.
I think part of it is because you just sort of learn, because I've been at it for a very long time. I've been, doing other like licensed products and different magazine, newspaper, paper illustrations. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that like you can kick and fuss all you want, but it's just not gonna change anything.
Mhm.
There's a little poem that I wrote, and maybe I'll expand this into a book sometime. And it was, no matter what you want or you wish, you can't fish any faster than the fish wants to fish. So, like, you can't fish faster than the fish are willing to fish.
I need a print of that. I need drawings. I need merch.
It's up to the fish how fast the fishing goes. So there's some of these things that are just so far out of your control. Who do you yell at when it rains? I mean, there's nothing you can do.
Yes. Did you had ever considered when like you were starting out to that you needed to be in New York or LA or something, or did you kind of always like living in Michigan?
Well, when we did Spy Dogs in for Saban Studios, that was the animated series I did.
Mm.
There was a little bit of pressure for me to move out there, at least during production time. And I also had a couple things in development at MTV, and they were trying to get me to go to LA and live there, like during the development and production process of it. But I like it here. And the most interesting things about me can be emailed. Like I don't need to be there to do it. Like you and we're not in the same room right now.
Yeah.
So technology has made it possible. I believe that you can live and work just about any place you want to.
Yeah.
And I love Michigan. I tell those people all the time, if Michigan didn't have like March and February and March, everybody would move here. But it's February and March that, as you know, as a Michigan resident, that really challenges you.
It's funny for me, and I feel like you must like this season because you named your daughter after it. I can't do summer. I can survive winter. Summers in Michigan, it's just humid. I'm not a late girl, so I'm just like, why? I can do winter. Fall obviously is super cute, but the summer in Michigan is where I'm like, eh.
Yeah, that kind of varies summer by summer, though.
Yeah.
Some summers, and also it varies like when the breeze kicks up, it's just a delight, and everything is. Sometimes when people come here and when they're flying in, they look down. It looks like the Amazon. Like it's so green. It's so brilliantly green, and but that greenness comes with some humidity.
Yes, yes. Speaking of your kids, they're both in creative careers. I believe your son is a musician.
He's a musician. In fact, he has a new song out today. His name is Griffin Benton. You can find him on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that.
Yeah, all of the links will be in the little description for everyone. And Summer is an artist who I get to talk to in an hour, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
Did you kind of always just foster a creative environment for your children? Was that important for you and your wife?
Yeah, it's because like I knew like sometimes people believe like artists are destined to starve.
Hmm.
But the truth is, like when the lawyer, the doctor, accountant, when they get in their car, they turn on the radio.
Hmm.
And when they go home, they don't have spreadsheets on the wall. And when they flip on a movie, it's a narrative. It's very often a fictional plot. And so artists are everywhere. They're surrounding you all the time, whether you know it or not. And they can, if they are careful and strategic, they don't have to starve at all. They can do quite well. But it is a matter of being strategic and being honest, because artists are, by their very nature, very self sort of satisfying people. They spend their whole lives saying, take that off the refrigerator and put mine up there.
Hmm.
So because of that, sometimes they're resistant to forming those strategies. But no, we've always fostered it. There's the house is full of art supplies. And if your kid tells you, well, my dream is to be a musician, right? Well, would you want to live in a world where nobody believed in your dream? Like if that's your dream, yeah, let's do it. Let's figure out how to get there.
Yes. Since Summer is in illustration as well, do you give her advice when she seeks it, or do you kind of just leave it alone and if she needs help, she'll ask?
Yeah, that exactly. And this isn't just Summer, this is any artist. When they want your opinion, they know how to get it from you. They ask. And so Summer, occasionally would say, what do you think of this or that? But she's not asking me because I'm her dad. She's asking me because I'm another artist and another person in the business. And she probably asks, a lot of people if she respects their sort of creative eye. And even if I tell her my opinion, she isn't necessarily going to use it or employ it. So I think I'm just somebody that she knows she can sound things off of. And I'll just give her an honest take, right or
Mhm.
wrong. It'll be honest.
Yes. And she moderated one of your panels at Comic-Con, which was one of the favorite panels that you were a part of.
Well, of course, because I have a dangerously bloated ego, it's the one all about me, the spotlight on Jim Benton. But I also did one for DC where we talked about the DC young readers, and I did a few of them. They were all fun.
Was this wasn't your first Comic-Con, was it, or was it?
No, I was I've had two books nominated for Eisner's before, so I was in for those. And then there was a couple that I was invited to before this last one, but COVID shut
Cool.
it down a couple times. But this one was especially good for my dangerously bloated ego because I won an Inkpot Award, and which is did you know that I
Yes,
won one?
yes, yes. I saw on social media.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. I posted it a million times. So anyway, it's a beautiful sculpt. It was a terrific honor because you don't apply for it. They just have to decide.
Yes. Do you think you would do more of these Comic Cons and panels and things of that nature?
Uh, I was going to do the one in the New York Comic Con, but the schedule just didn't work out. But they're fun to do. Yeah.
Yes. And while you were there, you were drawing a lot of people. Like you had a sign that said
Yeah.
the insulting drawing. I didn't see you there. I saw you on the first day. So I have a happy bunny, which I'm super excited about.
Right.
Um,
So that just came up because people come up and they want me to draw for them, and often they want me to draw It's Happy Bunny or Dear Dumb Diary or something that they know.
yeah.
But sometimes they'll come up and I'll say, well, what would you like me to draw? And they'll say, I don't know. I don't know. So I'd made up a sign that I could flip around, and it said, ugly drawings of you, ugly and insulting drawings of you by Jim Benton.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, this is one service I could offer you. And, mostly just as a joke. But
Mhm.
then once it happened, they were lining up like 100 people deep to get an ugly and insulting drawing made of them. And I didn't try to make them ugly. That just kind of gave me wiggle room, like
Mhm.
if they were insulted, I could say, well, it says on the sign. But no, I tried to make them flattering, but everybody actually really quite liked that. So other artists who are drawing at Comic-Con, I would recommend you turn your sign around that way and give people that chance because they love it.
For sure, because I would have definitely wanted a drawing of me ugly or beautiful or whatever, and that's obviously subjective, but it's weird to go up to a person, you're like, oh, can you draw me, can I be your muse? So
Yeah.
it's definitely good to have that introduction. You're on social media a lot, and obviously that didn't exist at like the very beginning of your career. What's kind of your relationship with social media and when it comes to art?
Well, I post stuff there hoping that people will like it. But when you hang something out there on social media, you pretty much have to take your beating if they don't like it. And it's sort of like doing stand-up comedy, but every person that walked into the comedy club, they handed them a mic.
Mhm.
So, so they can harass you or heckle you or whatever, but they have the same mic that you have, right? Because that's just the way it works. So it's fun and it's nice to know that you're making people laugh. And sometimes it's disagreeable when people just sort of they want to hassle you or whatever for their own fun. But I do acknowledge like that is their form of artistic expression. Like that's their relationship with the world. And I don't get to decide anybody else's relationship with the world. So if they want to hassle me, I kind of ask for it by putting it up there, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And what has been one of your favorite fan interactions or moments that you're just like, oh, that means a lot to me?
Well, some of them are hard to believe. So like I've gotten a lot of people that have shown me angry red tattoos of drawings of my drawings on their skin, and they always show it to me like right when they get it done, so it's stinging and red. So those are sort of like, wow, that's going to be there for good, right? So that's sort of nice. But I also have had people that like I've had, and I don't want to well up, but
Mhm.
like from girls, young women who have decided to go into science because of Franny.
Oh,
And when they read Franny as a little girl, they felt like it was okay for them to like chemistry and physics and mechanical things, and they just sort of kept going. And they become engineers or doctors or scientists, and it's because of Franny. And then I've had a couple of people who said that things that I've written or done has prevented them from taking their lives.
oh, wow.
And when you read that, you go, well, I mean, there's no way for me to know if that's true.
Mhm.
So that could be something that somebody just says because they could be exaggerating or they could want attention or whatever. But even in those cases, you sort of have a sense that something has happened. You've done something helpful. You've done something important, even though I didn't mean to. I mean, I wasn't trying to, but I think sometimes just the jackass, the joker in the world can really have a positive effect that they're not even aware of. Just making people laugh.
Yeah, for sure. And what's kind of on the docket next for you?
What's that?
What's next for you in what you're creating?
Well, I'm doing a sequel to the Batman Squad book. We're working on that right now. And as you might, I don't know if you read it, but there is a kind of a cliffhanger at the end of that book. And so I'm picking up right like the very next frame after
Oh,
that
awesome.
that frame. And then we're doing more licensing with It's Happy Bunny. We're releasing new product all the time. And I have a couple of other new titles that I want to do. And I was hoping that we did well with Catwad, and I really wanted to do more Catwad, but I don't know if it may have run its course already at Scholastic. But I'm really got my fingers crossed that we can do more because kids really seem to like it.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely see. And I can't wait to talk to you about future projects. We will definitely stay in touch. And thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.